We're bringing in younger management. My name's Calvin Rhodes. I'm 51 years old, and I'd been running the Royale Vista Hotel's flagship property in Miami for 9 years. Mason Clark, the regional director, sat across from my desk with that corporate smile that never reached his eyes. Behind him stood Trevor Sims, 28 years old, fresh MBA, probably making half what I made. Cost efficiency is key in today's market, Mason continued, sliding a folder across my mahogany desk. You've done excellent work here, Calvin, but we need to adapt. I looked at the severance package. 2 weeks' notice, standard exit clause. Nothing vindictive, just cold business math. The Champions League final was scheduled in London in 14 days. Our Miami property had been booked solid for months with overflow guests, UEFA representatives, international media, and corporate sponsors who couldn't secure London accommodations. The transition should be seamless, Mason said. Trevor here has experience with high-volume operations. Trevor nodded eagerly. Kid probably thought managing a Marriott in Orlando qualified him for this. I'd been handling diplomatic guests, celebrities, and crisis management since before he graduated college. But I didn't say that, I just nodded. When do you need me out? I asked. End of this week would be ideal. I glanced at my computer screen. 3 reservation alerts were blinking red. The booking system had been acting up for months, duplicating entries, dropping confirmations, creating phantom reservations. I developed a workaround script that ran every morning manually, syncing our third-party platforms with the main database. Without it, we'd have chaos. I'll need to brief Trevor on the operational systems, I said. Mason waved his hand. They'll figure it out. These younger managers adapt quickly to technology. That's when I knew they were going to learn the hard way. The system had been a nightmare since corporate upgraded it 18 months ago. The new software couldn't properly sync with booking platforms like Expedia, Hotels.com, and our corporate website. Rooms would get double booked, confirmations would vanish, and VIP suites would suddenly show as unavailable, despite being empty. I'd brought this to Mason's attention repeatedly. His response was always the same. Work with what we have, Calvin. A new system isn't in the budget. So, I taught myself basic coding, spent weekends writing a script that would catch discrepancies, flag phantom bookings, and manually sync the databases every morning at 6 a.m. It wasn't elegant, but it worked. The system looked stable, from corporate's perspective, because I was fixing it behind the scenes. My assistant manager, Elena, had been nervous about the transition. Trevor seems nice, but he doesn't understand how complex this operation is, she'd said during my last week. He'll learn, I'd replied. But I knew better. I'd watched Mason's pattern over the years. Hire expensive, experienced managers to build market share and reputation, then replace them with cheaper alternatives once the property was established. He'd done it in Tampa, Jacksonville, and Orlando. The new managers usually lasted 18 months before getting overwhelmed and quitting. The difference was those properties hadn't been running on manual fixes. They had functioning systems, properly trained staff, and realistic booking volumes. Miami was different. We were handling twice our designed capacity because of my workarounds. During my final staff meeting, I'd given them my personal cell number. If anything comes up that you can't handle through normal channels, call me, I'd said. Elena had hugged me at the door. This place won't be the same without you. I'd spent 9 years building relationships with tour operators, travel agents, and corporate accounts. They trusted me personally, not just the Royale Vista brand. Many of them had my direct line and expected me to handle their special requests personally. Trevor would find that out soon enough. The first call came on Tuesday morning, 5 days after I'd left. Elena's voice was strained. Calvin, I'm sorry to bother you, but we have a problem with the Champions League bookings. I was in my kitchen drinking coffee and reading the news. For the first time in 9 years, I'd slept past 7 a.m. What kind of problem? I asked. The system is showing conflicting reservations. We have 43 VIP suites booked for the same dates, but we only have 31 VIP suites total. Trevor says it's just a display error. I closed my eyes. My script hadn't run in 5 days. The system was reverting to its broken default state. Have you tried running a manual sync? I asked. Trevor doesn't know what that means. He said corporate will send a tech team next week. Next week would be too late. The Champions League final was in 9 days. Guests would start arriving on Friday. Elena, you need to check every single reservation manually. Cross-reference the confirmation numbers with the actual room assignments. Trevor said not to worry about it. He thinks I'm overreacting. I hung up and stared out my window. Part of me wanted to drive over there and fix it myself, but I'd been dismissed, replaced by someone who thought experience was overpriced and problems would solve themselves. The second call came on Thursday. This time it was Trevor. Calvin? Hi. Elena mentioned you might know something about our booking system. We're having some minor discrepancies. Minor discrepancies? I almost laughed. What exactly are you seeing? I asked. Well, some of our Champions League guests seem to be double booked. Not a big deal. We'll just move them to comparable rooms. How many double bookings? Maybe 60 or 70. The system shows available inventory, so we should be fine. 60 or 70. The kid had no idea what was coming. Trevor, you need to understand something. The available inventory numbers aren't accurate. The system has been broken for over a year. I was fixing it manually every morning. Oh, well, corporate should have documentation on that. Corporate doesn't know. I developed the fix myself on my own time. Long pause. So how do I fix it? You'd need to manually audit every single reservation, check for duplicates, verify room assignments, and cross-reference with all third-party platforms. It would take about 40 hours if you knew what you were doing. 40 hours. The guests start arriving tomorrow. I sat there listening to him breathe. This was the moment I could help him. Drive over there, fix the mess, and save everyone's weekend. Or I could let them see what the hotel looked like without me. I'm sorry, Trevor. I'm not an employee anymore. I hung up and turned off my phone. Friday morning at 11 a.m. my doorbell rang. I was in my garage organizing tools I hadn't touched in years. Mason Clark stood on my front porch in a wrinkled suit, looking like he hadn't slept. Calvin, we need to talk. I leaned against my doorframe. About what? You know about what. The hotel is in crisis mode. We have VIP guests arriving in 3 hours and nowhere to put them. That sounds like a management problem. Mason's face reddened. Don't play games with me. Elena said you knew about system issues and didn't report them properly. I reported them for 18 months. You told me to work with what we had. You should have documented your workarounds. This is sabotage. I almost laughed. Sabotage? I fixed your broken system for free on my own time for over a year. You fired me and replaced me with someone who doesn't know how hotels work. That's not sabotage, Mason. That's consequences. Fix it. I'm not your employee. I'll rehire you. Temporary basis. Full salary. I looked at him standing there, desperate, probably calculating how much this disaster was going to cost him personally. His precious Champions League partnership was about to evaporate because he thought experience was replaceable. No thanks. Mason stepped closer. Calvin, be reasonable. This affects innocent people, staff members, guests who did nothing wrong. You should have thought about that before you decided I was too expensive. I started to close the door, but Mason grabbed it. I can't corporate. Tell them you deliberately withheld critical operational information. Go ahead. My severance agreement includes a non-disparagement clause. Works both ways, Mason. You accuse me of anything, and I'll tell corporate exactly how long you've known about the system failures. His hand dropped from the door. You want to destroy me? I don't want anything from you. I just want to be left alone. I closed the door and went back to my garage. Through the window, I watched Mason stand on my porch for 5 more minutes before walking to his car. 20 minutes later, my phone started ringing. Unknown numbers, probably corporate executives or angry guests. I let them all go to voicemail. By 2 p.m., the calls had become constant. I finally listened to one of the messages, a heavily accented voice, Probably UEFA's travel coordinator, speaking rapidly about missing reservations and legal obligations. I deleted it without finishing. At 4 p.m., Elena called from her personal phone. "Calvin, it's worse than we thought. The lobby is full of people with confirmation numbers for rooms that don't exist. Trevor locked himself in the office. Mason is screaming at everyone. Some of the guests are threatening lawsuits." "How many people are affected?" "Over 200 corporate executives, UEFA officials, international press. They're all here for the Champions League coverage. Some of them flew in from Europe specifically because we guaranteed accommodations." I could hear shouting in the background, multiple voices, different languages. "What's Trevor doing?" "He called corporate, but it's Friday afternoon. Nobody's answering. He tried to manually reassign rooms, but he doesn't understand how the system works. He's made it worse." "Made it worse? How?" "He accidentally canceled reservations for guests who are already checked in. Now we have people who were told their rooms are gone even though they've been here for 3 days. The kid had panicked and started randomly clicking buttons. Classic mistake. "Elena, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Can't you come in just for today? The staff respects you. Maybe you could calm things down." I looked out my window at the palm trees swaying in the afternoon breeze. For 9 years, every Friday afternoon had been spent preparing for weekend arrivals, checking VIP protocols, confirming special requests. Now I was watching birds and thinking about dinner plans. "I can't do that, Elena." "Why not?" "Because the moment I walk through that door, Mason will claim I'm responsible for fixing this. I'll be working weekends again, handling crisis calls, covering for broken systems, and the next time they want to cut costs, I'll be right back where I started." "So you're just going to let it burn?" "I'm not letting anything burn. I just stopped putting out fires that weren't mine." Saturday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. I made coffee and read through them slowly. "Elena, Calvin, please call me. It's an emergency." Unknown number. "This is Gerald Hoffman from UEFA Events Management. We need to speak immediately. Answer your damn phone. I'm begging you. Please help us." The last text was from Patricia's sister, Julia, who lived in Tampa. "Saw the news about your old hotel. Looks like chaos. Hope you're okay." News? I turned on my laptop and searched for Royal Vista Miami Champions League. The first result was a Miami Herald article with the headline, "VIP Hotel Disaster Leaves Champions League Guests Stranded." Below it was a photo of the lobby, filled with angry people holding suitcases. The article was brutal. Over 200 VIP guests, including UEFA officials, corporate sponsors, and international media representatives, were left without accommodations Friday evening at the Royal Vista Hotel's flagship Miami property. The hotel, which serves as overflow lodging for the Champions League final in London, reportedly suffered a catastrophic system failure that eliminated confirmed reservations. Heinrich Müller, a representative from German broadcaster ZDF, was quoted, "We had confirmed reservations for 6 months. Now they're telling us the rooms don't exist." The hotel's management declined to comment, but sources indicated the crisis stemmed from a computerized booking system that malfunctioned during final week confirmations. I scrolled down to see quotes from stranded guests, threats of lawsuits, and speculation about the hotel's future relationship with UEFA. But the part that caught my attention was buried in the 6th paragraph. The crisis comes just 2 weeks after the hotel replaced its longtime general manager, Calvin Rhodes, with Trevor Sims, a younger executive brought in as part of a cost-cutting initiative. My phone rang. Mason again. This time I answered. "What do you want?" "Have you seen the news?" "Just read it. This is a disaster, Calvin. We're going to lose our UEFA contract. Corporate is flying in from Atlanta. My job is on the line." "I'm sorry to hear that." "You're not sorry. You planned this." I set down my coffee. "Mason, let me explain something. I didn't plan anything. I developed a workaround for your broken system because you refused to fix it properly. When you fired me, my workaround stopped working. That's not a plan. That's basic cause and effect. You could have warned us." I did warn you. For 18 months, you told me to make do with what we had. I mean specifically, you should have told Trevor about your script. Trevor never asked. He was too busy adapting quickly to technology. I could hear voices in the background, probably corporate executives demanding explanations. What's it going to take? Mason asked. What do you mean? To fix this? To come back and clean up the mess? I looked out at my backyard where I'd been planning to plant a vegetable garden. Simple project. Clear steps, predictable results. I'm not coming back, Mason. Name your price. It's not about price. You made it clear that my experience wasn't valuable. That a younger, cheaper manager could do the same job, so let him do it. Trevor quit this morning. That surprised me. He quit? Walked out at 7 a.m., said he was in over his head. I almost felt sorry for the kid. Almost. Then find another young, adaptable manager. Calvin, please, I'll give you anything. Full control, salary increase, guaranteed job security. For how long? Until the next cost-cutting initiative. Silence. That's what I thought. Mason called back Sunday morning with a different offer. Consulting contract. 6 months. You work remotely, set your own schedule, 3 times your previous salary. I was sitting on my porch, reading a book for the first time in years. Remote from where? Wherever you want. Your choice. And what exactly would I be consulting on? System integration, crisis management, staff training, whatever it takes to stabilize the operation. 3 times my salary. That would be substantial. Enough to buy a small place somewhere warm, maybe the Caribbean, and actually retire comfortably. Send me the contract terms. So you'll consider it? I'll read it. The contract arrived by email 2 hours later. 6 months, renewable by mutual agreement. Payment up front. Complete operational authority for system fixes and staff training. No requirement to be physically present, except for quarterly reviews. It was generous. Almost too generous. I called Elena to check on the current situation. How bad is it? We're still housing guests in the conference center. Corporate brought in a crisis management team. They're manually rebuilding the reservation database from scratch. How long will that take? They're saying 2 weeks minimum. But Elena, here's the thing nobody's talking about publicly. We lost more than just the Champions League guests. What do you mean? Word got out to our regular corporate accounts. 3 major companies canceled their annual conferences. 2 wedding parties moved to other venues. The damage isn't just this weekend. I'd suspected as much. Hotel reputation crises spread quickly through industry networks, travel agents, event planners, corporate travel departments. They all talk to each other. What's the financial impact? I heard Mason telling corporate it could be over $2 million in lost revenue, plus penalties for the UEFA contract violations. $2 million. That was roughly what they'd saved in salary costs by replacing me with Trevor. Except now they'd lost both the savings and the revenue. Elena, hypothetically, if I were to help fix this remotely, what would you need most? Honestly, we need someone who understands the whole system, not just the technology, but the relationships. Half our VIP accounts were calling for you personally. They don't trust the hotel anymore, but they trust you. That gave me an idea. I spent the rest of Sunday reading industry publications and making quiet phone calls to contacts I'd built over the years. Travel agents, event planners, corporate account managers. The word on the street was exactly what I'd expected. Royale Vista Miami was radioactive. No one wanted to risk booking there. But several people said something interesting. If Calvin Rhodes was personally guaranteeing the service quality, they might consider giving the property another chance. Monday morning, I called Mason back. I'll take the consulting contract, with modifications. What modifications? First, I work exclusively from outside Florida. I'm thinking somewhere in the Caribbean. Fine. Second, all client communications go through me personally. Not corporate, not the property management, me. That's unusual, but okay. Third, I want oversight on hiring decisions for the general manager position. No more 28-year-old MBAs. Pause. That might be difficult. Those are my terms, Mason. Take them or keep cleaning up the mess yourself. How soon can you start? I looked at my calendar. Empty, except for a dentist appointment on Thursday. I'll start next Monday, from Barbados. Barbados? I'm thinking a change of scenery would be good for my consulting perspective. 2 days later, I was booking a flight and looking at beachfront rental properties. For the first time in years, I was excited about work again. The difference was, this time I was calling the shots. 3 months later, I was sitting on a terrace overlooking the Caribbean Sea. Laptop open, morning coffee in hand. The Miami property had stabilized. My remote system monitoring was working perfectly. Staff confidence had returned. Bookings were approaching normal levels, but the real victory came in an email from corporate headquarters. Mason Clark had been terminated. The email was from the regional vice president, apologizing for the management decisions that led to operational disruptions and announcing a renewed commitment to experienced leadership. They offered me the regional director position, Mason's old job. I read it twice, then deleted it. An hour later, my phone rang. The call I'd been expecting. Calvin, this is James Morrison, VP of Operations. Did you see our offer? I saw it. We'd like you to consider coming back in a leadership capacity. Your consulting work has been exceptional. Thank you, but I'm not interested. Can I ask why? The compensation package is substantial. I looked out at the ocean where a fishing boat was heading toward the horizon. The captain probably knew these waters better than anyone, understood the currents, the weather patterns, the best spots to find what he was looking for. James, I spent 9 years building your Miami property's reputation. When you decided experience was too expensive, you nearly destroyed it in one weekend. Now you want me to fix the whole region? We've learned from our mistakes. Have you, or are you just scared of the next crisis? What would it take to get you back? Nothing. I'm exactly where I want to be. I hung up and opened my real estate app. There was a small hotel for sale in Barbados. 28 rooms. Beachfront location. Owner retiring. The price was reasonable, especially with my consulting income. For the first time in my career, I'd be working for myself. 6 months later, I owned the Sunset Bay Hotel in Barbados. 15 staff members, mostly locals, who'd worked in hospitality for decades. No corporate headquarters. No cost-cutting initiatives. No regional directors telling me how to run my business. The phone rang one afternoon while I was reviewing reservation reports. Elena's number. Calvin, I have news. Good news or bad news? Good news. We're finally back to full capacity. The Champions League disaster is ancient history. New general manager is working out well. That's great, Elena. There's something else. Mason tried to get a job with Marriott in Orlando. They called me for a reference, and I told them the truth about the system failures, the firing, everything that happened. What did they say? They thanked me and said they'd found another candidate. I smiled. Hotel management was a small world. Word traveled fast. Elena, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you ever miss the chaos? She laughed. Never. We have boring, predictable operations now. It's wonderful. That evening, I walked down to the beach behind my hotel. 3 guests were having dinner on the terrace, a couple from Canada celebrating their anniversary. I'd personally arranged for fresh lobster from a local fisherman and champagne from my wine selection. Simple hospitality, personal service, no corporate protocols or profit margins to worry about. My phone buzzed with a text from Julia. Saw the article about your hotel and travel and leisure. Mom would be proud. I looked back at my small property, lights glowing warmly in the tropical evening. 28 rooms, but each one mattered. Each guest was my personal responsibility. I'd spent 9 years building someone else's dream. Now I was living my own.